Good evening, Super League fans worldwide. We are going into the valleys tonight. Yes, it might be 10:45 p.m. on a Friday, but when there is Super League chat to be had, we will not be found wanting. Tonight, everyone's favourite Welsh Geordie, Jaime, is joining me to discuss all things Dragon Destroyers in what I'm sure will be a superb episode of the halftime reports. One of the best co-commentators in the game. I'm sure he's going to have a lot to say about how things have unfolded thus far. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. And good evening, Jaime. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm really good. Thanks. How are you?
Oh, buzzing to hear your voice, pal. Lovely to see your face as well. As we were saying off record there, it's been far too long since we heard your tones. I'm sure the fans are going to go wild for this when it goes live.
Yeah, it's been a very long time in fairness.
As we've done with everyone, let's go back to the last game. What were your thoughts on how it all unfolded?
Well, it was a bit of a crazy game, as to say. Ardsley, I think we kind of say it's happened to us so many times in the past where we've been probably kind of the better team, just not really converting our chances. Ardsley, very unlucky to lose the game. I say a 4-1, you think, we're cruising, and then the next minute they score 2 goals, and you're thinking, they're going to grab a last-minute winner here. But to score 4 away from, although they kind of dominated the game, to score 4 away to any team, especially a team at the top of the league, I think, you deserve to win the game, if I'm being honest, even if we probably have been a bit outplayed.
I mean, it's without question. And that was a crucial win, both for you as a team and you in terms of your position in the table, because it's just starting to get quite tight at the bottom. Now, are you focusing on that group with, say, myself, Devils, B-Tech, Chudley are down there, Hoddesdon down there, or are you still looking at teams like Astor and thinking I can be part of that group where we've still got half a season to try and challenge for the top 6?
Well, I think teams like Astor, I think, if I remember correctly, I think we're kind of on the similar points now. I think obviously Astor have probably talked about us still having playoff hopes because they've been there and kind of done it, and it's what Alf does. But if you look at it just this season, I'd say we've got just as much chance as Alf. But if I'm being honest, I don't tend to look down at the bottom, not because I don't think we're going to get dragged in there, but I think every team should be looking towards the top 6. Ultimately, again, no one wants to finish bottom, but for me, if you don't make the playoffs, I'm not really bothered where I finish. Obviously, you want to finish as high as possible, but if I was to finish 7th or 13th, it wouldn't really make much difference because the target was to get in the playoffs. And if I don't get there, then wherever I finish, it is really a disappointment anyway.
Let's go right back to the start of the campaign. There was a lot of hype, obviously. There were many entertaining videos. The team was together. It was you and Boycie. And then a poor start, I think it's fair to say, which we'll come on to. I think Boycie himself, he's gone on record and saying he's kind of taken a step back from the Super League because he's not getting kind of what he wanted out of the league as a whole. Is he still involved in the day-to-day with Dragons, or have you sort of given him the elbow and that's where your form turned around because you weren't playing his showman tactic?
No, I didn't give him the elbow. I think to be honest, it came over a period of time where, if I'm being honest, I was the one who kind of, I wouldn't say lost interest, but I had a new job. I started working nights. My kind of pattern turned to, say, working in the night, sleeping through the days. Then obviously when I get up, I'm spending nearly all the time I've got with my boy before I start. So I was the one who kind of said over a period of weeks to Boycie that I was probably going to wrap the team in, not because I wasn't enjoying it, but I've always said, if I'm not participating in the league in terms of the group chat or, banter or talking with anyone, then I'd rather let someone else come in who does. So I think that's where probably Boycie kind of maybe wasn't getting what he wanted because I wasn't really giving you know,
You weren't
maybe
enabling.
no, yeah, exactly. So it just kind of fell by the wayside then. As I say, I was, you know, still picking a team every week, but it was just kind of, you know, get the team in. I wasn't really participating in anything throughout the week, which obviously everyone will know. I did speak to Martin, and obviously I think for him, he's just happy if everyone enjoys. So I decided to stay on and thought, you know, kind of see the season out. And obviously then see at the end of the season in terms of, you know, what will happen. But I'd say not really to blame, because I don't think anyone, it's just me and Boycie just kind of went that way, probably because of me, not because of him. It's just obviously circumstances changed for myself.
It's not him, it's you. It sounds so cliche 1990s rom-com.
No, it does. It's just, I think it's one of those things, obviously, when Boycie came in, look, as you alluded to earlier, there was a few videos and it was great. But I think for Boycie and myself, really, it was just trying to kind of, you know, the off-season in the league, you know, people can say what they want about, obviously, Boycie and about, you know, it was all a show. But at the end of the day, when Boycie came back and we were kind of doing these videos, everyone else started doing videos. And for those couple of weeks, it was probably the most interactive the Super League's been for the past 2 seasons. You know, everyone was talking, everyone was doing videos. You see, you know, Panathinaikos, they were all doing videos and stepping their game up. And if you know, being honest, if you look at it since Boycie's gone away, that has kind of fell by the wayside again. Obviously, you do see a video now and then, but the interaction and the kind of banter and everything is probably gone again. So no matter what you think of him, and you know, we can see it was show for show and everything, I think the league has kind of died again since kind of Boycie, you know, dropped out of it.
No, it's a fair point, and no one can discredit the entertainment value he brings. Obviously, we will engage ourselves, but he knows exactly what sort of high esteem I hold him in. We've had many a chats, banter-wise and serious-wise, sort of off-camera, if you like, me and Boycie, when he was obviously running the Super League, and subsequently since, where we've spoke about different things. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you mentioned there, obviously, now you're fully taking the reins again. There was a lot, much like there is with Midlothian and obviously having Rocks on board, there was a lot of talk about who was in charge between you pair. You've kind of alluded to the fact now it is you picking the team, etc. When you look, and we've spoken about the table already, when you look at the situation, did the bad start that you had, because I think it was it the first 4 or 5 games where you were conceding 4 goals a game?
Yeah.
Has that cost you more than seeming inconsistency more recently?
Yeah, I think I think the second game, I think, was the real killer. I think we were 2-0 up at home to Chudley and absolutely in control. I don't think they had a shot on goal. And then out of nowhere, I think we lost 4-2, and they had like 18 shots in one half of football, something crazy. And I think that's the half where it really I think we lost in our first 5. So if you look at how far we are away from the playoffs now, I think it is that start that killed us more, the inconsistency. Because if you look over the last 10 games, you know, we've beat Bolton, we beat Ardsley, you know, we've beat Astor, we've had decent results. So if you take those 5 games away and put the table since then, we'd probably be around the playoffs.
I don't doubt it. When I was looking through your squad and the stats ahead of the chat, you have preconceived ideas of what you think you're going to talk about, and my automatic thought was, it's the lack of goals. Viduka's rubbish. He's only got Brozak scoring. But when I looked, between them, I think they're on about 14. I think it's Brozak's on 8. I think Viduka's on 6. So your 2 main strikers are scoring. Yes, you would probably say you want others to contribute. The one thing I did notice, and consistency of selection and ratings is something I've spoken about with the other managers. You've got quite a split in terms of you've got 13 of your squad averaging 7 or above, and 9 of your squad averaging below a 7. And that's when I looked a bit deeper into it. And when you see players like, and please forgive me if I get this wrong, but I believe Michael Owen will be on the list. I believe Van der Maider's on the list. I can't the name of your third striker escapes me. But I noticed you had 5 or 6 either attacking midfielders, stroke strikers that are in that list of averaging below a 7. Is it
Yeah.
just a case of you need some of these bigger names to step up and be counted, and you could easily put a run together, similar to what you did at the end of last season?
Yeah, I think obviously we've changed formation now and gone kind of 3 behind the 1 striker, and Viduka's come in, and I think he's scored in 2 games on the trot, which is, I think he scored 3 in his last 2. So I think he's kind of key if we're going to have any chance. I know obviously you've got Brozek who's scoring the goals, and obviously Giggs is putting in some assists, but I think Viduka is key, because I know there's been a lot said about Michael Owen. A lot of people agree, like obviously Kieran fully agrees, says he's never going to do it. Other people got their own opinions and say he should be given more of a run, and possibly should. But in this formation now, we went to it, and obviously I think I tried Owen. I think he was the first one to try it, and he had another 6, I think. So yeah, we went to Viduka, but I think Viduka is, all our hopes are kind of pinned on him to have any chance of, making a run towards the playoffs. I think Brozek, he does have a few quiet games, but if you look in the team he's playing, who haven't been playing great, for me, he's probably been the player of the season. So yeah, a lot of hopes on him, but Viduka needs to kind of continue his form if we're going to have any chance.
You are right. I mean, if I believe I remember correctly, the Brozek did actually make team of the season so far
Yeah.
in the blog. So that says everything about him when you consider your position.
Yeah.
If we look ahead now instead of back, we're obviously at the halfway point, more or less.
Yeah.
And again, and I don't like to group you in amongst the teams at the bottom, but for the purposes of the question I'm going to,
Yeah.
we're in this transfer window where we can get players from outside of the league only. Obviously, I've announced 2. Chudley have announced signings. B-Tech have announced signings. I'm not sure Sloths have. Are you looking? I don't believe you have either. Now, is that because you're content with your squad, or you don't feel there's anyone out there that's available that's better, or you just feel that you have enough? What's the situation with the Dragons and transfers in this window?
Yeah, we haven't done much. To say, we looked at quite a few players in the summer, obviously outside the Super League. Say, other than Michael Owen, all our transfers came from outside the league. There was 4 or 5 players we looked at which we couldn't get, went to other clubs. We did see what their kind of availability was like, and it wasn't looking any good. So in the end, we just decided to kind of stay with what we had. I didn't think there was anyone we thought that could improve us. So yeah, we just decided to stay with what we had.
And I know you've kind of suggested that you're not going through the motions, but you're seeing the season out and then you're going to review your position, which is understandable. Yeah. But with that in mind, if as things settle down in your personal life and hopefully you're able to engage that bit more towards in the second half of the season, are you still looking at players within the Super League that you might like to bring in next season, should you still be there? Or are you solely thinking, let's get to the end of the season and then I'll think about it?
Yeah, I've spoken to 1 or 2 managers. And quite a few managers have approached me. The problem is, obviously, I don't want to be in this situation. But obviously, we saw a lot of drama regarding the Crespo deal. Now, there's been a lot said about that. My personal opinion is that deal shouldn't really go ahead. I know, obviously, if Mr. Edwards probably not going to agree, but if I'm being honest, again, that's Rob's. Who was it? I think it was Crespo for Cordoba, if I'm right.
Ferdinand, I think.
Or Ferdinand. So if I'm being honest, and I'm looking at that team, if you're looking at it, if Martin's looking to get a new manager come in, you're looking at that Sloth squad and you're thinking, I need Crespo. And then if someone turned around and said to me, oh yeah, well, sorry mate, you've lost Crespo for Ferdinand, I think that job, it makes the Sloths a lot weaker. And I think that's what I'm trying not to do. I don't know, agree a deal for anyone. And then a new manager might replace me and think, what's he sold him for, or swapped him for that guy? He's rubbish. I wanted to keep him. So I have spoke to 1 or 2, but I've not really done much until, when there's maybe 2 or 3 games left and I know where my situation's going to be, then I'll probably be a bit more active. But at the minute, I feel it's fair that if I'm going to go, I'll leave someone else with the squad that I've got and leave it down to them in terms of the transfer business, which I think, is fair.
No, that's completely fair. I mean, in our position, I've identified maybe, I think I've written down it in this pad here, 4 players that I think I could realistically do a deal for in the Super League.
Yeah.
And I've written what I think it'll cost me to do those deals. But
Yeah.
I've not spoken to them. One of the managers I've spoken to, but not about the deal that I've written in the pad. But I haven't actively spoken to any of the managers because, for that exact reason, you don't know where anyone's position is going to be. And I have been stung by it before where, because of the actions of other people, I've lost out on what would have been a really good deal for me. So what I tend to do is I focus solely on the window. So I will think about it now, but I will not approach anyone about specific deals until that window is open and we know exactly what the situation is. So I think you're doing the right thing by everybody personally.
Yeah, there's players out there I look and I see certain squads and I see certain people who are not playing and I think, oh, that player could improve me. So I'm the same as you. I've got a few players in mind. I've spoken to one manager, but he knows my situation in terms of if I'm going to stay or not. But yeah, I think it's just getting the players who you think you potentially could get a deal out of. Obviously, my issue last summer when obviously all of my deals come outside of the Super League, because as soon as I approached the manager, I think everyone just said they wanted Tomasi off me. So it was kind of like, well, I'm not getting much deals here. That's why I just went for people outside of the league.
What are your expectations for the second half of the season? What right now would constitute a successful season? Is it still, as we've mentioned before, get 6th place and that's successful, or from where you are now, what are your hopes and expectations?
I'm not that far away from the playoffs, but with how many games are left, I just feel you look at the teams around 6 and I think to get 6 or 7 more points than they've got already would take quite a lot, because I think you've got Bolton who are around like 5th and 6th and you're pretty sure that they're going to have a strong second half of the season. So I'm not trying to write it off. I just think it would need a really good run. If you've got 13, 14 games left, you're probably looking, you've got to win 10 of them to have a chance of getting in the playoffs. So I think anyone who's kind of where I am now is going to be very difficult to get in. Obviously, it's the aim, and if we were to get close, but my aim at the minute, especially after a few last good results, is to get more points than I had in the first half of the season. So if we can get more in the first half, in the second half, and show we're improving, then that is, that's a kind of improvement. I think it will come a stage where, people like Shane Tolley, for example, in season 3 of the Super League last time, in the last, game, he was outstanding. So I think he's someone, if it looks like the playoffs are going to fall too far, I'll probably look to start playing some youngsters to try and get them some game time to improve their stats ready for next year, because goals has been my problem. If you've got Brozek and you can get Tolley to come in and start scoring, then, it gives you a much better chance next season.
Before I ask you for your 1 to 14 or 14 to 1 prediction, as I've done with everyone else, let's take a side step away from the Super League just for a moment. Recently, I think, if I remember rightly, and again, please forgive me if it's not quite factually accurate, sort of around the beginning of the national lockdown, you were doing a mental charity feat, and it was mightily impressive. Tell us a bit more about that and sort of what the end result would be.
Yeah, so my son obviously was born 8 weeks early. He was born £3.4, so he spent a long time in the special baby unit in Singleton Hospital down in Swansea, where I live. So I've done a few things in terms of, like myself, I've done a triathlon, raise money. I kind of every year try and do a little event to try and, raise some money for them. So obviously I play for a football club, I run a football team. So, I had a chat with a few individuals. I was thinking to myself, right, what can I do? I was looking at a few different challenges and things and thought, right, so in the end, obviously I put the idea to my football club where we'd run, cycle or walk for 24 hours straight. So from Saturday through till Sunday midnight, so 48 hours, someone from my football team would be continually either walking, running or cycling to raise money. And the idea was through the whole club, we would do 250 miles. Now, as you can imagine, not many people wanted to run, cycle or walk at 12 o'clock in the night. So it was a really difficult one. So obviously it was, not that it didn't mean something to them, but for me, it's obviously something really close to my heart. Without, everything they did, I wouldn't have my son. It is that simple. So I said, right, I will run from 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. on the Saturday and the Sunday. So that way, the kind of hours that anyone didn't want to do, I did. So it made it achievable. So in the end, I think it was 28.4 miles on the first day and 26.9 miles on the Sunday. So yeah, I ran two marathons in 2 days. Just over. I think it was like 55 miles or 57 miles. I think it was something like that. As a club, I think we ran about 400 odd miles, and we raised 3,900, close to £4,000. So
I mean, it was an incredible effort, both in terms of the physical input of yourself and your teammates, and also the financial backing that everyone gave you to raise the funds. The distance you mentioned there obviously sounds impressive to hear, but can you quantify that just to really help people vision sort of, is that Swansea to wherever?
I don't even, it's from Swansea past Newport. Well, I don't even know how far it is. I think the tough thing for me was it was done in my house on a treadmill. And I think anyone who has done that will say the same. It was quite weird because I think a week before I did it, Francis Benali ran on a treadmill in his garden. I know this is someone who has run like 10 marathons in 10 days and things like that. He's always doing these crazy challenges. And a week before I did it, he did it in his garden. I was watching a lot of interviews and running, and he said it's one of the hardest things he's ever done, because when you're on the treadmill, you're not going full, and your knees are kind of taking a lot more impact. Over short distances, it's kind of all right, done a lot better for you, but your legs not kind of going a full rotation, and it's so hard. And if you think, I was running for 6 hours straight, just staring right at a wall. My treadmill is up against the wall, and you're just staring at the same thing for 6 hours. So it was more a mental aspect than a physical one. If I'm being honest, it was, especially the second day, as I say, my legs obviously were, a bit sore and tired. But when it came to that midnight on the second day, and I thought, right, I've got to stare at this wall for another 6 hours. It was tough. I suppose, when you're out doing a marathon, you've got everyone around you, fans, people cheering you on, and people, to set the pace and things like that. But just going there for 6 hours, it was definitely the most difficult thing I've ever done. Not just the distance, just the mental thing. But it was, I had a little photo just at the side of the treadmill of my boy. So it was something that, even if I had to walk for the 6 hours, it was something that I was always going to do, just because it does mean, everything to me.
Well, listen, I have to give you and your team a round of applause for everything you did. It was absolutely superb.
No, I appreciate that.
Okay, the time has come. Now, not to put any pressure, some people have been kind of, well, the top six is a top six. I might just move one or two people around. Swindon are going to be bottom because I'm talking to 5 people at the Great Laugh. Alf, on the other hand, Alf went to town. He about moved everybody. He was throwing Chudley to the bottom. He was putting Bolton at the top. He put us in the top 10. So no pressure, Jamie, but you can choose. Are you going to go 1 to 14 or 14 to 1?
God, I don't even know. I wish I knew this was coming, Fifey. I could have done some preparing for it. It's difficult. If I'm going, I'll go from the bottom, I think. I've just got, the thing is, I'm going to try and not forget someone now and kind of put them in. But
Don't worry,
probably go.
I'll help you if you forget people that are in the area at the moment.
Right, that's all right. I think I'll go for Sloth Spot them. I'll go 13 would be Swindon. I think 12. Who am I going to go for? Hoddesdon. 11, Chudley. I'm going to put us 10. No, I'm going to put BTEC 10 and I'm going to put me 9. Astor 8.
So at this point, that means if you put Hooligan 7, the current top 6 in one configuration or another are going to finish top 6.
And I am going to put Hool 7th. I think they will just finish.
Oh, get off that bench, Jamie. Get off the bench.
This isn't offence. It's just, as I said, I'm not really 100%, but obviously a Hool 7th at the minute. Are they 7?
Yes.
And how many points are they away from 6th place?
I believe it's 5 off the top of my head.
Yeah, and the thing is, Hools, Astor and myself, who were around, because I think I'm 9th. I just think it's 5 points. I know it's saying half a season, but I think if you look at the teams who are around the top 6, I just don't think these teams are consistent enough. Hools, as you say, sometimes they go on.
Play each other, Jamie, and they've all still got to play you.
They have got to play each other. I don't see it. I don't see who breaks into that top 6. If I look at it, the only team I think possibly could, and I think they want, is Astor. I think Alf has got the know-how when he plays the other teams to change it around. But I think he's like 6 or 7 points behind, and I just don't see Astor doing it. So that's what I'm going to go for in terms of that.
Okay, so
six.
you've bottled it in front of everybody, and you've gone conventional. So we have at the moment, and I know I'm going to get this in the wrong order, so apologies for whoever I put in the wrong place. But at the moment we have got Ardsley, Midlothian, Churchtown, Vallon, Palmer for Nikos, Bolton. What order are you putting them in 6 to 1?
6 to 1. I'm going to go Palmer for Nikos 6.
Everyone is saying they're going to finish below Bolton. And I can't wait to have C-Mac on, because I know he's going to have something to say about it. The reaction to just losing the game against Bolton was horrendous. Can you imagine if he finishes below them? He got all the credit for winning them the title last year.
He did, but if he finishes in the top 6, I think it's a good season. They've still got everyone to play, so as you say it is, but I think they'll finish 6. I think Bolton will finish 5th.
Okay.
I think I'm going to go Churchtown 4.
Interesting.
I'm going to go Ardsley 3.
Oh, they're going to have a bit of a collapse, bit of a wobble.
Well, let's be honest, from where they finished last year, if they finished 3rd, he would have bitten your hand off for that, wouldn't he? I'm going to go Vallon 2 and Midlothian 1.
Wow, you're going for the Scottish Supernovas to win the league part of the competition.
Yeah, I am. I think they're another one. They had a bit of a slow start, but if you look at them since then, I think he's as fired up as anyone to win this league. I think he wants to pick an argument with anyone and everyone. But I think they're getting the job done. Sometimes when they're not playing well, they're still winning. And they're doing it without one of the best strikers in the league in Pens at the minute. So, you look at the backup they got to come in. I just like players like Back and people like that. And I just think they got people like Schwellef who they could bring in. So, yeah, I think, I don't know who picks the team, whether it's him or Rocks, but together they're doing a cracking job. So, yeah, I'm going for them number 1.
And with that being your top 6, final question before I let you go and have a well-earned rest, possibly something to eat before you go to bed.
I'm still in work 5 feet. I'm in work till 5.
Oh, yeah.
No rest. Yeah, I'm working tonight. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I was in a meeting.
Sorry, pal. Sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you just finished.
Oh, no, I'm working. I'm in work till 5. 5
Ah, right, okay. Oh, well, you
Yeah.
should have let me do this at 5 in the morning then, mate. That would have been fun. Who wins it? Who wins not just the league campaign? Who gets through the playoffs? Who lifts that trophy?
I'm going to say Midlothian.
Wow. Well, I know
Yeah,
two Scotsmen that will be very happy when they watch this
yeah.
interview.
I think obviously if you finish in the top two, we all know how much of a chance that gives you. And I think they'll do it.
Well, listen, enjoy your night at work, mate.
Yeah,
Thank you very
will do.
much for joining me.
No worries,
I
man.
will upload the video. It's been an absolute pleasure to not only see your face, but to hear those vocal tones. And I hope when the Super League returns from its winter break, as we're calling
Yeah.
it, I hope you can have that one night off where you can join on co-coms again, because I know everyone would love
Yeah.
to hear you.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
You take care of yourself, Jamie,
Yeah.
and we
Cheers,
shall
mate.
definitely speak soon.
Yeah, cheers, mate. See you later.
See you, mate.
Ta-ra, mate. Ta-ra.